Action.
Thanks. Oh, my calibration is off too. It's just horrible. Okay, we good?
Is this where we left it off?
Yeah.
Are we good?
Yeah, go.
Yeah, we're good.
All right. So yesterday we talked about how we're able to find the nth term given two terms of a what kind of sequence?
Geometry.
Geometric has to deal with what two operations again? Multiplication or division. Okay, perfect. So we're given our second term here, it equals -4, and that our sixth term equals -1024. And yesterday we got to the point of substituting in, okay, this is the equation that we can fill in for our first one. This is the equation we can fill in for our second one. Now, if we would simplify both of those real quick, we would get -4 is equal to a sub 1, because that's our first term, we don't know what it is, times r, which is our constant ratio, to the what power? First power, thank you. And then our second one, if we would simplify it, we would get -1024 is equal to our first term, which we still don't know, times our constant ratio to the what? Fifth. Now, if we would subtract, essentially it would make both terms cross out, kind of. So this is what we have to do today since we deal with powers. Now you can do it on either one, but I also wrote it down right here. We actually want to solve for a sub 1. For one of them. It doesn't matter which one, but I would probably say this one because your r is just to the first power. Alright, so if we do that, because after we do that, we're going to substitute it into the other equation to be able to solve for r. How are we able to solve right here? A sub 1. How do we get it all by itself? Yeah, what's happening between these two? Multiplication, opposite is division. So you guys agree that we just have to divide each side by r? That means a sub 1 is actually the relationship of -4 over r, right? You guys agree with that? So anywhere you see a sub 1, what are we going to plug into this second equation? Yeah, so let's do that. So then we plug that in right here. So we're going to get -1024 equals, this is where we're going to write this fancy -4 over r times r to the fifth. Getting our equation in all one term. Now you guys know how to solve when we get it in all one term. What's the first thing we should simplify? Yeah, very good. If you guys put this over 1, r to the fifth divided by r is what? Yeah, so you have -4 r to the fourth. You guys see that? Because that is going to cross out to just 1, and this is going to become r to the fourth. Right there. Okay, how are we going to get r to the fourth all by itself? Yeah, divide each side by -4, and this is where I'm going to need your help. It's going to be like 200 something? 206?
No, I think it
256?
256.
Yeah, that sounds much better. Can I get a second to that?
Fine.
All right. Now, do we even care about r to the fourth? No, we need to find a sub 1 and r. So how do we get r by itself then? Take the fourth root of both sides. Very good. And when we take the fourth root of both sides, you're going to get r is equal to? Can I get a second to that one? So, to fill in our notes then from yesterday, we write the systems of equations, then we solve for a sub 1 and substitute into the other equation to solve for r. Third thing, plug r back in to solve for what?
Is r in the ratio?
Thank you. If we plug r back in, and I'm just going to use the smaller of the equation, now we know that a sub 1 is 4. R is 4. So now we have to solve this. Well, divide each side by 4, and you're going to get a sub 1 equals negative 1. Now, I like to circle those, but that's not it, is it? So, sub r back in to find a sub 1. Fourth thing we have to simplify. What do we have to simplify? What's it asking for? What's the first equation? What's the first question it's asking? Okay, write the rule. What is the geometric rule for a to the n? A1 r to the n minus 1. I would like everyone to always write r in parentheses, because remember how we talked about that yesterday? You can't combine them because this is raised to a power. Do we know our first term?
Negative
There you go. So we have negative 1. Do we know our r value? 4. And then can we simplify n minus 1 at all? No. So this is our equation. Right there. A sub n equals negative 1 times the quantity of 4 raised to the n minus 1. Cool?
Can't you just write that without the negative 1 and have it negative 4?
No. Why? Because it depends. Sometimes it would be okay if you have like odd numbers, but what happens if you have it raised to an even power? It's always going to be a positive. So it would probably be wrong. So
A negative times negative is 1.
exactly, and that's going to be the problem. Does that make sense?
So, oh, you're talking about, what's it called? The steps. You have to do the powers first, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. We're on the same page. So then it says write the value for n, which a sub n equals negative 2. Write the value for n. Yeah, so we will have to find out the term when it's negative 2. What's your guys' guess?
Like what to do? Or the answer?
Yeah, what to do. 2 equals, negative 2
One
equals
negative 1.
negative 1 times 4.
Raised to the n minus 1.
Very good. And I'm going to actually have to write this on the next slide because we're going to run out of room. Can you give me what that said again?
Negative 2 equals
negative 1
negative 1 times 4 times 1 minus 1.
Times n. Not yet.
Perfect. Okay, so the first thing that we can get rid of is what? Yep, so we divide each side by negative 1. Oh boy, not 2. Negative 1. We're going to get 2 is equal to 4 to the n minus 1. Do you guys agree with that? Yeah? Okay, my next question. What's the only way we're going to get n by itself? Do you know your logs?
Oh my, not the log cabins.
You guys really didn't learn logs?
No.
We did.
Except that one time you told us.
Ah, how the heck am I supposed
Doesn't
to
it have
teach
to
you
make
if you
equal
don't know
1
logs?
half?
You can
So
put
wouldn't
pause.
it be
Pause it real quick.
1.5? Action.
Okay, action. So I was sorry, I wasn't supposed to give you that, okay? Because that you don't know how to technically do that. So without using logs. Thank you. So we're actually going to move on. This is something that you do know how to, okay? So we have a geometric sequence again. Our third term is equal to negative 2, and our common ratio is 3. We have to write a rule for the nth term and find a to the 8th. So, once again, geometric sequence to write a rule to the nth power, it's always going to be what again?
A sub 1 times r raised to the n minus 1.
Okay, sweet. What do we already know of that equation?
We know
We know that r is what? 3. So we have something like this, right? So if we follow, it says write a rule for the nth term. Right now we don't know n, but do we know our first term?
Hmm.
No, but we know our third. Okay, who could explain a way that we could figure out
Well,
our first term then?
you put 3 in for n and 2 in, -2 in for a n.
Okay, so this is n, this is an. Okay, so we're going to go -2 equals, we don't know that, we know this, and we know that n equals 3. Cool. So let's follow our order of operations, which tells us to start with what? Exponents. 3 minus 1 is
2.
2. 3 squared is
9.
9. So what do we have to do next?
Divide by 9.
Divide by 9. Very good. All right, so we have that, and we just found out that our first term is -2/9. How does that help us out, Elise?
Now we can plug that back into our original equation.
So then our original equation, or our rule for the nth term, is going to read as what?
A sub n equals -2/9 times the quantity of 3 raised to the n minus 1.
Do you guys agree with that?
Yes.
Sweet. Box that off. That's awesome. Now, do you know how to find a sub 8?
Yes.
Yes.
8 and
Put 8 in.
For n. And then you get
So
the
that
n.
means a sub 8 equals what again?
-2/9 times 3 to the 8 minus 1 power.
8 minus, yeah, that.
8 minus
1.
1. Very good. Go for it.
I don't know the calculator. I do, but my hands are tied. Here, you can use my 50 first.
Wait, I don't understand how to do that.
You see our original?
Yeah.
What's the only thing that we plugged in?
A sub n.
That. But what's the difference between these two?
But 8.
Yeah, because 8 stands for the
Oh,
term number. Can someone help me out? 3 to the 7th times a -2 is what?
3 to the 7 is
343?
Uh-huh.
Okay, times a -2 would be 686 then. Correct? Divided by 9 is going to be?
Haven't gotten that far.
14. It's not going to come out nicely, is it?
Probably not. Doesn't look like
3 to the 7th is not 240 or 340.
It's
What is it?
2,187.
2,187. Do I get a second to that? Okay, then multiply that times 2, and then we might actually get a better answer.
-4,374.
74 and divisible by 9, you just have to add them all up. And if
46. It equals to -46.
-46,
86. 486.
Yep.
we're good? As long as I won't make you do logs. So, do you guys notice that sometimes you don't know exactly where to start? The first thing is always go back to the formula you know. Like you go back to, okay, it's dealing with the geometric sequence and you're given something, all right? And then you're given that the common ratio is this. Your first thing for geometric and arithmetic sequences, whatever you're dealing with, should be this go-to formula. When it says a to the nth, find the rule for the nth term, boom. You know it's going to deal with that. Then you start plugging in what you do know. And then, just like Preston you said, you're like, well, oh, this is one that we kind of know, and then we plug in more information. So just know that even though it seems like you have a lot of formulas, you just have to know what things stand for, and you plug them in. If you reach a dead end, then you have to make sure you go back to the original and see if you used all the given information. Because there's usually a reason why they give you certain things. So, moving on then, geometric series, just like arithmetic series, has a cool formula. S sub n, we always says, okay, is the sum of a finite. Alright, the sum of a finite geometric series. Finite means that it ends.